Oh, what's up, everybody? I miss Ron. Ron's not here to whistle and make that annoying whistle. Welcome, everybody, to Crossing the Streams, where we answer the universal question, what should I be binge watching next? You just watched something, and now you got to watch something else. We've come to the right place. We have over 120 hours streaming on our YouTube station, so check that out. But in the meantime, we're here, the three of us. We got a great show. Tim, kick us off and sing some of the theme song for us, would you?
Sure. Here's the story of some lonely fellows who spend way too much time watching the TV. All of them have jobs and friends. Well, not really. Just between you and me.
Oh, Marcy.
They made a live show out of their hobby. Every TV watcher's TV watching dream. Jeff, Ron, Sal, and Bob, and there's Marcy. They call it Crossing Streams.
And then one day they went live on all the platforms. You could hear the people laugh and shout and scream. Still can't find another word that rhymes with platforms. But man, we cross the streams. Everyone across the world.
We cross the
streams.
We cross
the
streams.
streams.
That's the way.
That's the way to do it here. We cross the
streams.
Because Ron's not here, I feel like somebody needs to do the X thing with her arms.
Tim, your voice is lovely.
Oh,
it was very good.
Shush. Okay, keep going.
It was very good.
Guys, Sinead O'Connor died.
I know.
I saw that.
Yeah.
I mean, we knew it was coming. I mean,
so in
demons.
In memory of her, I'm going to rip this up.
Nice.
She was the first one to ever get canceled. Sort of.
True.
I know. Yeah. It was a pretty big thing that she stood up for, abuse of children in the Catholic Church.
That's right.
And she got destroyed for it, but history will show she was on the right side. But and an amazing voice too. So.
Oh
yeah.
One of the greatest.
Howdy.
Howdy.
Yeah. So there's that. 56 years old. Kind of. Her son died. What? Not too long ago. 18 months ago.
Last year, yeah.
Yeah.
I think 2022, December of 2021. I don't know.
Yeah, not too long ago. So sad story.
Very sad
story.
I'm getting to that weird part of my life where I'm starting to see people die, and I'm starting to calculate how far in age away they are from me. You know, like, because I've heard a couple other people who were in their early 50s pass away, who are friends of our family. You know, they weren't a celebrity, but somebody that was a friend of the family, you know, and a very distant family member as well. They were in their early to mid 50s. I'm 46, and I'm like, so then I see like Sinead die, and it's like, wow, okay.
You're next, Tim. I hate to break it to you. Marcy's
yeah, probably so.
Marcy's like, how are we going to break it to Tim? Before the show, and I'm like, I don't know. I guess I'll just pull the Band-Aid off and let him know.
That's okay. I have my co-host to remind me that I'm old, as she's so lovingly doing in the comments.
If you're old, then Jeff's really old.
Look what we got. Oh, no.
Yeah, there she is. That's Kathleen. That's my co-host. Thanks, Kathleen. Love you too.
Hi, Kathleen.
Hi, Kathleen. What's up? I do that too, Tim. Kathleen can come on the show one day. We'd love to have you, Kathleen. Cool. So I know it's a powerhouse trio today. We have some good stuff to talk about, I think.
I think so.
And so last week we talked about Bill and Ted's Excellent Adventure, The Mother, which, as I recall, Marcy liked a lot, and then Gunther's Millions, and then Wham. Wham, of course, was covered by Sal. And then today we're talking about the Barbie movie, Secret Invasion, and the Flash movie. So, which is pretty cool. Where should we start? Who wants to start? You want to start? Let's start with Barbie.
Oh, gosh.
Barbie's like, this movie is taking over the world.
Taking over the world.
I think it's over.
Memes galore. It's ridiculous.
It's a long anticipated movie that they have been showing us trailers for like 3 years, I feel like.
Oh, hello.
Oh, that's different.
Do we like this?
I don't think so.
If I lean way over here, I can feel like I'm part of the conversation.
Like way too close.
Okay.
So
Let's talk about Barbie. Yeah,
I-
this was originally an Amy Schumer project way back when.
it was?
Yep, years ago she was part of it. She dropped out.
Oh, thank God.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well,
I
I
don't see
imagine
her
it
in
would have
this.
been I imagine at the time it would have been a very different movie.
It would have been a much different movie.
Yeah. So. All right. So, all right. I saw Barbie. So, go
So
ahead.
we'll
Let's
be
talk
able
about
to. Tim, did you get a chance to see Barbie yet?
I have not. I'm still trying to decide if I'm interested in seeing Barbie or not.
I'm still trying to decide if I liked it.
Fair
So
enough.
I don't go to the movies a lot, but I ended up last minute Sunday night at 10:30 p.m. in a theater with a glass of wine, my chair completely reclined, and there was quite a few of us in this theater at 10:30 on a Sunday night, and I was in a good mood to see this film. So we have Margot Robbie, Ryan Gosling, Will Ferrell, Kate McKinnon, America Ferrera, and Rhea Perlman, and then Michael Cera. Is it Cera, the kid from Arrested Development?
I believe it's
Is
pronounced
that how we
Sierra.
say his name? Who just cracks me up. He just has to just stand there and he makes me laugh. So I didn't realize he was in it. I was excited to see him. It is an adorable film. Let's just talk about how pink it is. I wanted to wear pink, but I really don't have anything pink, so that was out unless I like put on some winter coat or something. But this film is, how do I put? I don't want to give any spoilers, but Barbie is having some issues with her Barbiness in Barbie Land, and she's got some imperfections. She's got thoughts of death, of dying, not some, real normal Barbie stuff. And she ends up talking to Weird Barbie, played by Kate McKinnon, who plays her regular old silly SNL character, just being a goofball. She was pretty funny. She tells her she's got to go to the real world and figure out, what child is playing with her that's putting these thoughts in her head. Ryan Gosling is a Ken. Oh, let me explain also, like, all the women in the movie are Barbies and all the guys are Kens in Barbie Land. And it's Barbie Land. It's not, the women are, of course, in charge in Barbie Land. So Ken is in love with Barbie and always trying to get her attention. And Ryan Gosling is a fabulous Ken. He was super entertaining. Probably my favorite part of the movie. I thought he did great. People are talking Oscar. I'm not talking about an Oscar. I hope that they don't, That's just ridiculous.
It was great. I don't know if it was Oscar.
But people are saying, oh, he might get an Oscar. Maybe an Oscar nomination, I guess. Or a waiting list of an Oscar nomination.
I mean, he was great. It was great in the context of the movie and the role he was doing.
Yeah.
I'm sure there's going to be somebody. Anyway, but.
Okay, well. I don't think that this is, an Oscar-worthy anything. There's a lot of singing and dancing. There, Dua Lipa's got a new song, and Lizzo, and the soundtrack is great. So, that's awesome. But the cast is great, and it's fun. It's got some really good messages. Let's face it, Barbie's a horrible doll. I mean, I didn't have a Barbie doll. I had a Cher doll when I was a kid. When I went to Toys R Us, I picked the Cher doll. I thought her clothes were better. I liked her hair and her eyelashes, and I ended up getting all Cher stuff. So I really wasn't a Barbie girl, but it was the same thing. It's just this like gorgeous body, the perfect body, and this whole image that girls are, supposed to live by. This movie is giving a better, it's just a better message for us, for everyone, for women. I did enjoy the end. I thought that the ending was great. And I'm not a spoiler. Don't want anyone spoiling movies for me. I don't want to spoil it for anyone out there. I loved it. The last line of the movie. Loved it. It was great. I was like, okay, let's go. I was happy. But I have no problem with you waiting and seeing it at home on your couch, and when it hits wherever, HBO Max, or if it hits Netflix, but you don't have to run to the theater. I kind of wish that I was sitting in Mission Impossible at the time I was sitting in that movie. I would have rather been seeing that. But Greta Gerwig, she's 39 years old. She did Lady Bird.
Mm-hmm.
I didn't love Lady Bird. I don't even remember what it was about. I remember watching it. I'm like, I have to watch this movie. I don't even remember it. So I don't know. Everyone was really into that movie too, and I'm just like, it really didn't jive with me. But this is wonderful for her. I mean, she's, she can do no wrong now. She's the biggest box. I mean, she beat everything. I think she came in first. She beat Mission Impossible and Oppenheimer, or what is it? Oppenheimer, or whatever it is. Oppenheimer.
I think she was always going to beat Oppenheimer. Oppenheimer, I think, made more money because of the whole mishmash of the marketing. You know what I mean? Like, it became a thing to want to then see both.
Oh, gotcha.
You know what I mean? So
to go from one to go to the second movie.
But Barbie made almost double.
Ride the Barbie coattails.
Yeah.
The pink
coattails. Somehow it happened. I think that part happened a little naturally, but which was great.
Apparently, Lady Bird, by the way, is about an artistically inclined 17-year-old girl who comes of age in Sacramento, California.
Okay, there you go. Right, and I'm like, I remember it was about the girl, and I love the woman from Roseanne, Roseanne's sister. And I'm not your phone a friend. I don't know what her real name is. She, I think, plays the mother in Lady Bird, but I just don't even remember anything that they did in that movie. But anyway, Barbie was fun. And I laughed out loud, and a couple times looked at my watch. So I'll give it a meh. I thought it was cute. Definitely not one of my favorites. I don't think it's going to be any sort of Oscar. But then again, what's the category where with the song and the dance and the comedy? I mean, they have a lot of dancing. In fact,
the dancing is great in the beginning.
Yes. It is a lot of, it is fun. There's a lot of good parts to it, but you don't have to run to the theater to see it. Okay, so also I'm going to say that I'm one of the biggest Indigo Girl fans out there, and the fact that they sing Closer to Fine over and over again throughout the movie, and my friend who I went with, she and I have seen the Indigo Girls like at least 20 times together, and
oh wow,
so we sang out loud. Every time they started singing, we're like, we're gonna sing it. Like, what are the chances of the Indigo Girls song being like it's a big part of the movie, actually, Closer to Fine. There's one spoiler. But I do believe it is in a trailer. I did end up seeing that in the trailer. So, yes. But anyway, Barbie was fun, and I know a lot of people are loving it, but then I've talked to a couple people who are like, I didn't think it was that good. But it's a ton of fun. It's got a good message. I love the beginning, the very beginning too. So the very beginning, the end, the middle. Oh God. Let's see if I wrote anything else down.
So was it enough singing and dancing to call it a musical, or is it or is it just shy of maybe being on the verge of being a musical?
No, it's just one song. They're just dancing. They're not even singing. So.
Oh, okay.
Oh, what Marcy's talking about is
with the Closer to Fine.
It's not like a breakout song. It's like they're driving and they're singing a song. So.
Oh, okay, gotcha.
Yeah.
All right.
Yeah. Which is singing, but it's not like it's not like it never occurred to me that this is a musical. It's just in a car. I think when you do a scene in a car and you're singing, that seems more natural because people actually do that, right?
Right.
So it's
So not like sitting there at the table and be like, "Hi, Barbie, how are you doing today?"
Nothing
like that.
Nothing like that. No.
Okay, gotcha.
Yeah. So weird Barbie, going back to Kate McKinnon. Barbie does go into the real world, and Ken kind of like sneaks into the car, and of course she's got the pink convertible, and they do go to the real world together, which is very, very silly. Will Ferrell plays the CEO of Mattel, and Will Ferrell does not disappoint us ever. So he's his funny self. Like, Will Ferrell's character is pretty hilarious, and the whole Mattel board, when he finds out that a Barbie has gotten into the real world again. It happened once before. He's got to put a stop to it. He's got to get her back into a box. it's funny. And then Barbie gets to see how people think about her, like in the real world. And, it's interesting. But,
So I saw this on Friday, opening Friday. I saw it with my wife and my daughter, my youngest daughter, who this was her second time seeing it. She saw it Thursday as well. So she wanted to come watch it.
okay.
I say the only reason to go watch in the theater if you go in the next week or two is because so many people are going. It's one of those just experiences where it's more fun to experience a movie.
Okay.
I think with an audience like that. So that would be one reason to go to the theater. I thought it was really funny if you really think about it. Like it's a good satire. This was sanctioned by Mattel, who owns Barbie, and they don't pull any punches on Barbie. So it's, they, like Marcy was saying, it's problematic doll, and they kind of discuss that in the beginning where they're like, hey, this is what Barbie means. Women can grow up and be anything, an astronaut, or this, or that. And then when they go into the real world, they see it was not interpreted that way at all. And she isn't liked, actually. It was the actual opposite. So it was interesting that they did cover these topics, the intention versus the reality of how this was. I did find it very funny. Like you said, Marcy, the very beginning was really funny. The Ben Shapiro stuff is where people railing against it in that right wing kind of way is, in my opinion, men that can't handle a positive message for the empowerment of women. So if you're a guy that thinks women should really be in the kitchen and barefoot and pregnant, you're gonna hate this movie. So just don't go see it. I mean,
don't go see it.
If you want to take your daughters to a movie that gives them a powerful, strong message on what it means to be a woman and your potential, then yes, then it has that message. But it's not like it's a message movie, but it's a lot of fun. I mean, it's like, there's one fourth wall break, which I won't ruin, where the narrator says something. It's one of the funniest things I've ever heard in a movie. They literally, I'll tell you after, when the narrator actually mentions the actress's name.
Oh, right. Yeah.
So yeah, I mean, Ryan Gosling is great. All the different Kens are great. It's a fun movie. It's fun. It's just a fun movie. You'll just enjoy it. I mean, everything aside, there's some good, strong, powerful moments, and then, with the messaging but other than that, I think it's just really enjoyable. I mean,
no demon possessions during the movie, because there was a whole lot of conversation about people being worried about that.
No, I don't remember.
There's a whole lot of nut jobs out there who are like, don't take your kids to see this movie. They're going to get possessed by the demons when they watch this movie. It was a whole bunch of stuff like that. I just thought it was kind of.
I don't remember demons. I want my money back.
The fact that
I got screwed.
I can get any demons.
I'm sure, Tim, that this is the biggest movie opening ever for a toy, right? A movie based on a toy. Okay. Which means it's a bigger opening than the Transformers, I would assume. It's also the biggest opening ever for a woman director. And so, or something, it like broke a lot of records. But actually, somebody took all the negative things, like you just said, and then photoshopped them onto the poster. And then those became memes, encouraging people actually to go see the movie. Because the fact that people would actually have such negative comments about this movie. It's literally a movie about Barbie dolls with an empowerment message for women, right? I mean, that's all it is. It's not trying to take down America. It's not trying to turn everyone gay. It's not trying to do any of these things that it's accusing of. I mean, if you read it, the problem with, I think, the world today is everyone just reads whatever they want to read into everything. And it's like, it's getting a little ridiculous.
I do want to add that America Ferrera's husband is in it, I believe. They're married. Like, he plays her husband, and it really is her husband, which I don't think most people know, because I've never seen
interesting.
it.
Okay.
I did. But I read that after the fact.
She looks great. I was surprised to see her. I didn't know she was in it. And I said so much about Ryan Gosling. Margot Robbie, they did great. She was wonderful too. She really, I mean, she's to look like, she was the one kid who had a Barbie, was like, I'm going to look like this. And she did it. She freaking did it.
Yeah.
Good job.
was,
She really played that part well. But I guess,
absolutely.
see, I said I wasn't sure if I liked it or not. And maybe I did like it. I liked it more than now I know I really did like it.
There you go.
It was, so go see it.
Go see it. All
Go see
right.
it.
Let's talk about something else. All right, let's talk about this Star Wars, this Marvel show that just ended its run today. Secret Invasion. Tim.
Yes. So I was patiently waiting for Secret Invasion to come and hit Disney Plus because I'm a nerd, as you may have noticed, and I really enjoy most of the Marvel stuff that's come out. I have really enjoyed, and same with the Marvel TV shows. And so the thing that I was looking forward to with this show is that it wasn't so much of a superhero show as it was going to be more of a spy thriller genre type show. And to that aspect, it did not disappoint. So there's 6 episodes. The first 3 were all in the 50-minute range. The last 3 were all about 35, 38 minutes long. Which usually when you get in about the 30-minute range for any of these shows, people start complaining about it. It wasn't long enough. It wasn't this. It wasn't that. The thing that I found that even though these were shorter episodes, and the last 3 episodes, they were so action-packed that the episode was done before you realized it, and you're going, oh wow, we're done already, because there wasn't anything where there was no filler, there was no fluff. It was just get in, get the story done, get out. So I do like that. So if you're familiar with and you watched the Captain Marvel movie, I really feel like for the most part, if you've watched Marvel's Endgame for the Avengers movie, and if you've watched Captain Marvel, that's really all you need to understand what's kind of going on here, because this is post blip. Sam Jackson, his character Nick Fury got killed when Thanos, snapped the finger. It went away for a few years in that. And then in the Captain Marvel movie, you're introduced to the Skrulls, which are the aliens that have come to Earth, and they're shapeshifters. They can take on other people's forms and all these different things. And so the whole point about this is that the Skrulls, Nick Fury was supposed to be finding a planet for the Skrulls to live on. That was his promise to them, is that he was going to help them do that. And, some 30-odd years later, they still didn't have a planet. The Skrulls were impatient, and they were going to begin trying to take over the world and make Earth their home. And, a select few of them decided they were going to start killing the humans, basically, start a genocide and kill the humans. And so they were taking over high-level position people inside of the governments. They were pretending to be even some of the Avengers, not the ones that had superpowers. Like, so that one of them pretends to be Colonel Rhodes or Rhodey, because, Rhodes doesn't have any superpowers other than the suit that he got from Iron Man. So the great thing about this show is that it's very well cast. You've got, of course, Samuel L. Jackson. You've got Ben Mendelsohn. You've got Amelia Clark. Let's see, Kingsley Ben-Adir, who plays Gravik, who's the main big bad of the series, and he's
by the way is one of the main Kens in Barbie also.
Oh, is he? Oh, interesting. Yeah. Okay. But he chews up the screen when he's on the screen. He is such a good actor and commands so much of the screen when he's there. He's very believable in his rage and his anger with what he feels with, the promises that were broken and all these different things. And then my new favorite actress, and I need to watch more things that she's been in. Her name is Olivia Colman.
Oh, she's the best, dude. She's like the best actress ever.
God, I freaking love her. So she plays what I call she's sassy sarcastic, and it's just amazing. This British woman, I want to be her best friend. I want to just follow her around and drink tea and eat crumpets all day and just see what she has to say. I fell in love with her in this show. I'm sure I've seen other things with her, and I just don't know that I haven't really clearly I haven't paid attention to other things that she's been in. But her character Sonia in this show she is the type of person where, okay, so she's a good guy, but she's just unhinged enough that you're like, she'd be a terrifying villain. Because, most villains, they don't tell you exactly what they're going to do and then do it. She, her character is like, walks up, tells you what exactly she's going to do to you, how she's going to do it, and then does it. But she's the good guy. And it's just, yeah, very, very entertaining. And so I very much like that.
Tim, real quick, just
Yeah.
a note on her is she's the stepmom in Fleabag, at least in season 1.
Okay.
So that's where I knew her from there. She's Queen Elizabeth in 20 episodes of The Crown as well.
Okay.
I mean, these are just two of her many, many, many things. But she was also in a really good. She's in one episode of The Bear in season 2, which is
Okay.
great. And then Landscapers is a 4-episode miniseries that she's amazing in as well. I mean, she's got 50 million other credits as well, but yeah, she's the best. She's the best.
So every week on our show, we do a top 5 show it's called 5 at 5, but during Secret Invasion, we've been doing a live at 5 where we reviewed that day's episode. And John, our producer, has come on and done those live with me. And every week we're talking about how much we love Olivia Colman and how awesome Sonya is. And so, yeah, even if you don't like Marvel shows, and yeah, watch it just for Olivia Colman, because she is that much worth it. Here's my only issue with the show. So you have all this build up. There's a couple little plot holes and things like that, but most of those things I kind of chalk it up to some editing issues, not necessarily story issues. Things could have been edited a little bit differently, and I think that would have changed our view of how some of the things happen, especially in the last 2 episodes. I'm trying not to give too much away because this show just came out today, and I don't want to give away too many spoilers for it. But the big fight with the big bad should have been bigger and badder. That's one problem I have. The second problem I have is that the show just kind of ends. Now, throughout the whole series, I was expecting and maybe this is my fault, but I was expecting some type of buildup leading into the Marvels movie, which is coming in November, because it's supposed to be a continuation of this story. So at some point I expected one of the Marvels, either Ms. Marvel or Captain Marvel or Rambo, to show up into this show and have some level of interaction with Nick Fury. I was honestly expecting Captain Marvel, just because of the relationship that she already has built up with Fury. That never happened.
Yeah, the show just ends. But the reality is, if the show had never begun, then there'd be really nothing to gain or lose going into the Marvels either, because tell me what of consequence really happened in this show.
The only thing that's
other than learning there's scrolls. I mean, like that couldn't have been covered in a 90-minute movie.
No, honestly, this should have been a movie. Honestly. Yeah. So instead of being a 6-part miniseries, they should have just done a movie and just knocked it out, in 90 to 120 minutes, and just get it done, get it over with. And it would have been a much easier thing to handle, because I think what happens here in a show like this is that, so you're introducing some plot lines, some storylines that don't need to happen. You're introducing some characters that you're never going to see again outside of the parameters of this show. But then the one thing that this show does do for us, and I think that we're going to see moving forward, is that and this is where it gets into a little bit of nerd theory. And again, nerd, is that we have potentially seen the creation of the strongest character in the MCU in this show, in this final episode, because one of the characters that's created who survives the fight at the end is possibly the strongest character because of what happens in this episode. And
Yeah.
so that makes me wonder what's going to happen going into the Marvels and everything else. So there is some level of disappointment in this show for me, as far as I mean, I got my spy series, right? I got the feeling of a spy movie. I got the, all that kind of stuff. I didn't get you didn't get the closure and the leap off into the next series. It didn't set up properly. It's like they teed it up and then they just kind of walked away and said, "Well, we don't need to swing at this one." And so it kind of leaves the cupboards bare in a couple of areas. I still think it's a good watch. If you're a Marvel fan, it's still a good watch. But go into it knowing that there's going to be some plot holes that cannot be explained around any other way, and that you're going to be left a little wanting at the end of the series.
Yeah, couple things. One, they unnecessarily killed people that they didn't need to kill, so that was annoying.
Agreed.
And the first episode, it's almost like they killed the main character. It's been around for over a decade just to get people talking, and unfortunately, I don't think anyone really talked about the show that much. So that was unnecessary. Then they killed another one. Finding out that Rhodey was a Skrull the whole time since like Civil War, meaningless since he didn't really do anything nefarious except in the 2 episodes that we see him in this series.
Right.
And then he's back. So that was silly and unnecessary. And I don't disagree that a nice twist is the spy thing. But when you're dealing with shapeshifters that can go, "Oh, just kidding, that wasn't Marcy, that's Ron up there," because it was a shapeshifter. It's just like you can just play with whatever you want to play with. The fact that they gave this Emilia Clarke the power of every single thing that we've seen in every movie that we've seen, and it didn't.
Well, fine, if you're going to talk about it. I was going to skirt around that, but okay, fine.
But I mean, because it's dumb. I'm just warning people that it's dumb. And so it's like to give, unless it's from the comics in it, but even then that's dumb. This the whole idea that they would have collected DNA in the first place and collected and saved it. It's just dangerous and dumb. And then to just put it into one person, all of a sudden she's every single character in the MCU and knows how to control every character in power within 5 seconds of just a blast of getting this DNA, and then uses the power of the least known character, right, in that world. No one would have known the character that she chose, and then that power to use that power. So not only the DNA, but full cognizant understanding of every one of those superheroes and the power and how to control and use that power. It was dumb. It was just, I don't know. They're just not even trying anymore. They're just putting shit in play. I don't know.
Honestly,
and then the last scroll that switched back to a human form at the end was, unless I'm wrong, looked exactly like the human form, but as a Skrull, which she shouldn't have been, right? It should have been a different actress. I could have been wrong, but it kind of looked like
Are you talking about Fury's wife?
Yeah.
Yeah, there wasn't very much change. They just like painted her green, called it a day.
But that's not how it works. When you shapeshift, you're not shapeshifting. You're completely changing who you are.
Correct.
Right.
Correct.
And so that didn't make sense. I don't know. It just seemed like rushed. It didn't seem like, I don't know. It didn't seem necessary at all.
So here's part of the problem, in my opinion, is that every other Marvel series has been 8 episodes. This one's 6. Now that's following the Star Wars timeline or episode length, because when it comes to Lucasfilms and Star Wars on Disney Plus, all of those shows have been 6 episodes. And, so I think that either it had to be a movie and properly, done in the movie and use that movie as a setup for something with, like, at the bottom of the screen, Nick Fury will be back in the Marvels, something that we know, going forward, because it was just kind of, like I said, it was just kind of left there on the tee and they walked away from it. Or it needed to be a couple more episodes and actually explain and show what was happening. Some of the things that you just mentioned are very understandable and legible frustrations. especially with the whole, hey, look, we just got all these powers, and um, and we can both use them, and look how awesome we are with them. And they're only changing like parts of their body, not the whole thing. And it was just yeah, some of that part that's what I was talking about, where there's some pretty serious plot holes in some areas. That's a big one. And especially when you're trying to finish up this series and call this your end, and use this as a launch for into something else. There was a lot of things in the series finale in particular where it's problematic, and there should have been some adjustments made. I still say it's worth the watch, especially if you're a Marvel fan. But again, know that there's going to be some frustrations and disappointments going through it, and some confusion, because their whole thing of don't trust anyone. That was the whole thing, because the Skrulls would be able to shapeshift and become whoever they wanted. It just caused more confusion in the series, because you didn't know, okay, so is this actually Nick Fury, or is this a Skrull Nick Fury? Is this actually Maria Hill getting shot and killed in the first episode, or is that a Skrull Maria Hill? Because they never showed the body; they just showed her get shot and lay there in a still picture from then that point forward. So is she actually dead? We don't know. Yeah, so
Okay.
I'm kind of talking myself out of it as we go, but that's not the point.
You talked yourself out of Secret Invasion, and Marcy talked herself into
Barbie. Yeah.
All right, let's talk about The Flash, the movie The Flash that just came out. So The Flash. So I finally saw The Flash. It was, I'll say overall, just as the movie that it was I'll put it in my top 5 best superhero movies ever. I thought it was just a really good movie. Now, that being said, going into this movie and all the Zack Snyder movies and stuff, Ezra Miller, aside the fact that he's a psychopath or whatever the hell was up with him, he's always just kind of annoyed me anyway. I've never really loved him as an actor in this. His character just always seemed a little too, I don't know. It was just grating, I guess. So, but that being said, he handled this story pretty well. So this is a Flash story. It was originally going to be based on something called Flashpoint, I believe, where
Yes.
the concept in the comic book where that happens is the Flash goes back in time to try to save his parents, but changes the timeline, and then Batman's parents, his dad actually becomes Batman. They don't get killed, and the mom becomes Joker, and there's a whole different world. Now, so when they decided when they realized they could get Michael Keaton to reprise himself as Batman, which is the greatest thing ever in the history of ever, then they decided to kind of change it. And it was, I don't even know if it's now even considered a loose adaptation, but conceptually it was based on that, but it's probably very different. So the idea here is the Flash, using this thing called the Speed Force, goes back in time and he wants to save his mom. And even though Ben Affleck tells him he shouldn't do it and that he could screw up everything, he still does it. A superhero abusing his superpower for his own good. It's as if he never even saw Superman 1, where Superman turned back time and saved Lois Lane. God knows who else died because he decided just to save Lois Lane. But anywho, so he goes back. He does save his mom. And it causes a different timeline. So it's a different timeline where there is no Superman. It's a Michael Keaton's Batman timeline. There's no Wonder Woman. There is a Supergirl, but there is no Superman. And Zod does show up. And then seemingly it's an endless loop that occurs, and that timeline kind of ends up getting destroyed by Zod. And then I don't know. You start getting into time travel and stuff like that. So I thought it was the most coherent of movies. I mean, I liked Guardians of the Galaxy 3 when I saw it for the first time. I rewatched it. It's much more of a hot mess when you rewatch it. The first time it was great because you're revisiting and saying goodbye to movie characters that you really enjoy. But But this movie, this movie kind of just felt good. I liked the end where they ended up having to change the whole ending because Zack Snyder's Snyderverse isn't moving forward. So while originally it was going to be Michael Keaton at the end and Henry Cavill and Wonder Woman, and it was going to lead into Wonder Woman 3, and Batman was going to be Michael Keaton moving forward, and then they were going to do a Batman Beyond movie, and then Michael Keaton was supposed to then also be in Batgirl, which got shelved famously, but then he was also supposed to be in Aquaman 2, which then got removed and replaced with Ben Affleck being in it, which then that got replaced or just removed. So there's no Ben Affleck in the Aquaman 2. So this movie is, I believe, the biggest failure of a superhero movie. It did worse than the Green Lantern, starring Ryan Reynolds, and I think partially it's probably because people staying away for Ezra Miller. You think though that would balanced out with people coming to see Michael Keaton, because there's a whole many generations of people that would love to have seen him back as Batman, and he did not disappoint there. But I think the real nail in the coffin was, just James Gunn saying, none of this matters. It's like we're starting over anyway. And so, people's time, if you're not going to invest all this time, 2.5 hours into a movie that is just, not going to go anywhere. And so they did have a lot of CGI cameos when he was going around the Speed Force, Christopher Reeves in it, Helen Slater, Adam West, and a couple others.
Nick
Cage is Superman. It's all CGI. It's not great CGI.
That was rough CGI.
It's a little rough. It's a little rough, the CGI. But what do you think, Tim?
I would say pretty much the exact opposite of everything you just said. Now, in all honesty, I absolutely hated the movie. I wanted to like the fact that Michael Keaton was in it, and Michael Keaton in the movie is fantastic. Okay, that was the sole reason why I went to go see the movie, because Ezra Miller as Flash is hot garbage. Ezra Miller as a human being is even a bigger dumpster fire of hot garbage. And I had zero interest in that portion of the story. I wanted to see what they were going to do with Michael Keaton as Batman, because growing up as a kid, when that Michael Keaton Batman movie came out, that was pretty big deal. And Michael Keaton has always been, my favorite Batman. And it's just, so anyway, so I went for that reason alone. I was, though, however, impressed with Sasha Cale, who plays Supergirl. I thought she was
good.
Yeah, I thought she was really rather good. She was very solid in the role that they gave her, and I think she did the best with what they had. And yeah, Eddie, I agree. It's terrible. The CGI is horrible. The way that they try to work in the Flashpoint storyline, it's like they picked this part of the Flashpoint storyline, then picked this off, the cherry tree over here, and they just kind of picked and pulled, and it's bad. And then what makes the movie worse is that not only do you have one Ezra Miller on screen half the time, you have two Ezra Millers on screen, and that makes it double suck. And yeah, I had hopes that maybe through that in this movie, that somehow, some way, that this was going to lead into, when this was all announced, that we were going to get a Batman Beyond type thing, which you had mentioned, but that all hopes were dashed on that a while back. But I thought, still it's got Michael Keaton, and I want to go see it. I will say that in the movie, when he uses the line, "Want to get nuts? Let's get nuts," I lost it. I'm like, oh my God, I'm a kid again. And it was great. Yeah, past that, there wasn't enough Michael Keaton in the movie to save the movie from Ezra Miller.
All right, I accept your counterpoint.
However, I did
saw
laugh
it in the
out.
Theater. I saw it on my couch. So
I did see it in the theater. I went and saw it at the theater because I took my nephew, and we were like, well, everything else we wanted to see was at different times, or it was later than he could stay out, and all these different things. And so I was like, we'll just go see this movie because I haven't seen it yet. And I was like, yeah, the post-credit scene was decent. but I did laugh at the George Clooney Batman at the end, and Ezra Miller dropping the F-bomb. That made me laugh. I laughed out loud in the theater. It's the only time in the whole movie I laughed, except for a couple things that Michael Keaton says and does. So
Yeah, I liked George at the end. So
yeah.
Who's streaming it? Did you pay, or is it on one of the channels? Netflix?
yes.
I think it's available for rent on like Vudu and things like that. I think you can rent it.
Yeah, you can rent
I don't think it's streaming just yet.
No, you have to rent it. Yeah.
I don't think it starts streaming until September.
After that review, I'll wait.
Yeah, wait. Yeah, watch it at home.
I'll wait.
Cool. All right, that was good. All right, so
That was good.
All right. Well, thanks for hanging out. I think that was good. And I don't know what my ears are. I'm overheating right now. My headphones. So, all right. Well, thanks everyone for hanging out with us tonight. Thanks, Tim. Thanks, Marcy. Say good night.
Thank you,
Marcy.
Good night, everyone.
Tim, say good night. Remind everyone where they can find you.
Hi, guys. I'm Tim from the FSF Popcast. You can find us on our website, www.fsfpopcast.com. You can find us on YouTube, all your favorite podcast platforms. Yeah. And that's where you can find us. So goodbye.
Goodbye. All right. I'm
Bye.
Jeff
Bye,
Dwoskin,
Tim.
signing off. See you next week. We'll see you next week.
And that has been another episode of Crossing the Streams. Join us every Wednesday at 9:30 p.m. Eastern Time, live on Facebook and YouTube. Follow The Jeff Dwoskin Show on YouTube to be alerted every time we go live with your hosts, Jeff Dwoskin, Ron Lippett, Howard Rosner, Bob Phillips, Sal D'Amelio. We're all in the socials. Follow us, listen to our podcast,
Classic Conversations and the Sal and Bob Show.
Check them all out, and we'll see you next week and every week when we cross more streams right here. See you then.